Hello everyone, welcome to night 35 of the Orphan's Tales Live Quarantine Reading Series. I'm pretty excited for tonight because this is definitely one of my favorite bits of the book. It's a pretty cool bit, has an SJ song, but also it's just one of my favorite little bits of early me writing, so it'll be a good night. Let's do our intro stuff quickly so we can get into it. As always, this is not an audiobook of The Orphan's Tales. This is a play. This is a one-woman show. You can get music based on this book, including based on the story I'm about to read at sjtucker.com. I will play the song tomorrow night. It contains many spoilers for the story, so I didn't want to play it for the intro tonight. But you can find it and many other great pieces of music at sjtucker.com. You can get copies of this book anywhere books are sold, but I would ask for you to support your local independent booksellers if you can. Most of them have web services going right now, and they are having a hard time of it, so please support them if you're going to buy a copy. My local bookstore is printbookstore.com if you would like to support them. You can follow me on Twitter at Cat Valenti. Here's the part where I just say my name over and over and over again. You can follow me on Twitter at Cat Valenti. You can subscribe to my Patreon, also at Cat Valenti, which is full of new rewards and excitement this month. You can leave me a tip in the tip jar on my YouTube profile or my Instagram profile or my website, which is catherineandvalenti.com. You don't have to. These are all completely free from me to you as long as the lockdown lasts, but they are quite a lot of work to put together, and everything is a very tight belt around here, so anything that you can toss into the hat would be dearly appreciated, and I will thank you by name on the next stream. And the things I always forget, you can catch up in the archive at Cat Valenti Live on YouTube. Why can't I get this? And you can ask me questions after the stream, but I hate sitting here waiting for questions to come up, so think of them while I'm reading so that it can go happily and that there's not too much dead air on this garbage television show. So I think that is it. Let's get started. It's very windy tonight out there, so I apologize if you hear howling wind on the recording. Tonight and tomorrow night we're supposed to get up to like 45 mile per hour winds, so we may lose power, so I'll let you know if we have to postpone the reading due to power loss. If you type out your questions ahead of time and put them in the feed, I will not see them because other things happen in the feed as it goes through, but have it ready to go. Or don't, and it just ends super quick. I have managed to remember to get myself a fancy drink, not a White Claw, tonight. So we are all locked and loaded, so to speak. Let's get into the tale of the satyr and the selkie. The tale of the satyr and the selkie. I was the favorite daughter of my copse. No other of my sisters or my briar-bearded brothers did our parents love more. The ewe was a large and prosperous family. We had enough to eat and plenty of wine to make us merry. We were known far and wide for the amazing number of offspring each ewe managed to produce. Daughters and sons dropped from each of us like cones from a pine. We were envied by the willow and larch copses, positively worshipped by the poor firs who were lucky to have one child in a century. The forest held us all in its green shadows, and the race of satyrs went about life as we always had. We chased the prettier fawns and drank ourselves into fits of giggles under a cornucopia of stars. It was a simple life. If a satyr died, which did happen now and again, he did not so much die as plant himself. And from the place where he went to root, a tree would grow that we could still love and converse with as though our uncle or cousin were still with us. From this had come the names of our copses in the beginning of the world when the forest was new. The first of us sent up trees of unrivaled beauty and size, whose branches arched like embracing arms over the meadows and the glens. Their descendants took the names of these gods among trees, and thus I am called Yew, my friend is called Birch, and her friend is called Pine. And so it was that I sat under the bristling branches of the great yew the day the men in the vulture skin came to the forest. I was too young to mate, but only barely. The fawns were beginning to gather around our door like snails after a rainstorm. As all you girls are, I was lovely as a spring sapling. The color was high and bright as a dahlia in my cheeks. My voice was high and perfect as a grass whistle. My father kept me near to him, for satyrs are not known for their restraint in the presence of a sweet-faced girl. But that day of all days, I slipped his sight while he prayed over the cut wood for the evening's fire, and curled up against the dark, knotted wood of Grandfather Yew. Good rainfall last winter, he hummed. Too many squirrels, but what can you do? I chased a few of the chittering fellows away with flung cones. Sunshine this spring was of the highest quality, he harumphed, savory as biscuits. I scratched affectionately at the bark behind a sappy burrow. Would you like to buy a skin? The voice came from behind the yew, and for a moment I had the two confused in my ear, wound together like a weed in a rose. But then they separated, and the strangest creature emerged from behind my grandfather. He had a lion skin pulled up over his head, a frayed, ratty old thing with mats in its fur and a mane that hung down into his eyes like unkept hair. The skinny paws hung limply over his shoulders, and the sorry tail hung down around his ankles, which were scaly and black and tipped in claws like a buzzard's. And beneath the lion's pelt I saw the tips of wings. In his hand was a fat leather satchel, bulging like a wineskin. How about it, pretty goat girl? He smiled, a broad young face with a pointed chin and hairy eyebrows. A skin, sir, I said, curious as all young things are. Oh yes, my dear. I am Gassan, the skin peddler. All sorts of skins. Skins for a penny, skins for a meal, skins in trade and skins in debt, skins for all occasions. Besides the noble lion you see displayed upon my own humble shoulders, I have in my person many fine articles, strix skins and manticore skins and mermaid tails, cloaks of harpy feathers and capes of catalopas. A number of lovely red lucrata skins, very fashionable, shining salamander coats, and even a rare ghost skin, human skins and Yale skins, and any skin you can think of. We have an illustration. What in the world would I do with a skin? I've already got a very nice one. But my hand was already reaching for the satchel. Why, you wear them, girl. Make a fine dress for those fetching hips, or drape it over your comely shoulders when the winter's nip comes a-happening by. Skins have 1,001 uses. Some are magic, some are plain, some will change you, some will change in your hands. A skin is a door. Step through it and see what's on the other side. Me? I like the girl skins. Now don't look shocked. I peddle, I don't procure. It's none of mine, never mind how they became detached from their owners. How odd, to prefer another person's skin. No more odd than court ladies who prefer to wear blue sashes or shoes of jade and glass. Why, I'm wearing 6 or 7 skins at this very moment. It always pays to display the merchandise to effect. I peered at his legs, his wings, the long silvery hair, but could spy no seam. Then what are you underneath your skins? He leaned into me, confidant close. I'll never tell, said Gassan. But enough about me. Wouldn't you like to try one for your own? Better than any blue sash, I assure you. I blushed, deep as damask. I haven't any money, sir. My father thinks young folk ought to keep to acorns and leaves until they've a good pair of horns on their head. A shame, a shame. But a man must eat, no matter what skin he's in. The skin peddler turned to leave, to go on to his next customer, who would surely have piles of opals and emeralds in his fireplace grate and buy up the whole lot, while I had to suffer skinless with no coin at all of my own. I was paralyzed with anguish, and I must have let out a little cry, a half bleat, because he turned halfway back to me. I suppose I could let you have this one for very little. he mused, and pulled from his satchel a very strange skin, folded over many times. It was rubbery and grey, dull and mottled, and did not look like it would make a very fine sash at all. But I didn't care. I wanted it like a squirrel wants the highest nut in the walnut tree. What would I have to do for it? I asked, shuffling my hooves a little. Well, I don't suppose you'd trade your own skin, and I've no need of satyr in my inventory at the moment anyhow. But I would take a strip or two of bark from this lovely tree of yours. Quite a rarity, the grandparent trees. I think not, groused the ewe. Of course, Gassan heard nothing. Blood speaks to blood, sap to sap. To the rest, the forest is silent. Oh, grandfather, you'll never miss it, I assure him. It won't hurt a bit, I promise. I shall keep the squirrels off you all winter this year. Hurriedly, before he could protest further, I stripped off 2 long pieces of black bark and handed them over. I tried not to listen to him whimper as I pulled them from the wood. Gassan handed over the rubbery skin with a grin on his sparsely whiskered face. A pleasure, prettiest of girl slips. Farewell, I don't imagine we'll meet again. He pocketed the bark and strode back over the damp grass. I pressed the skin to my heart and hid it beneath my bed when I came home for supper. I breathed its salty, watery scent dozens of times before I reached my own door. How proud I was. When I lay down to sleep, I pulled it out again and held it to my chest, feeling its cold weight on my own skin. It was such a small sound when I think on it now. Knuckles on glass, a rapping at the window. I was startled as a sparrow to look up and see 2 huge grey eyes looking through the pane at me. They belonged to a young man no older than I, with dark hair and skin so pale it seemed bloodless. Please, he said, let me in. Certainly not, I said, so as not to wake a father already suspicious of every suitor's knock. But I unlatched the window and opened it, just the smallest of cracks. The youth looked at the skin clutched in my arms. Miss, I'm afraid you have something that belongs to me. What's that? The skin. It's mine. I see plenty of skin on your bones as it is. This is my skin. I bought it, just as fair as a pair of golden scales. The youth shook his head sadly. You bought it from a beast and a thief who stole it from me when I was sunbathing on a craggy rock. I am a Selkie, and that is my skin. I tightened my grip on the little bundle. But I cut into my grandfather for this. It'll grow back, I know it will, but I oughtn't to have done it, and if I lose the skin, it'll have been for nothing. This is the only thing that's mine, and not my father or my brothers, or my sisters or my brothers. It is not your father's or your mother's or your sisters or your brothers. It is mine. Please give it back, lovely satyr. I want to go home, and I cannot until you give it over. I did not want to cry, but the tears prickled all the same. But I was a clever girl, and I knew all manner of tales. Wait a moment. What is your name? I'm called Shroud. And I am Eshkol, and if you are a Selkie and I have your skin, that means you must stay with me and be my lover until you can get the skin back, doesn't it? Shroud's shoulders slumped. Yes. That is the way of it. But I was never like the other seals. The tale of the skin. I was always so careful with my skin. The others let them lie around just anywhere. It is who we are. Who might take it? Whose house might we enter? Whose sardines and black bread might we eat? Who might we love? It is the chief activity of Selkies to have their skins stolen. But I was careful. I loved the sea. I loved the waves and the breakers and the curling white foam. I loved the changing character of the sea, how it could be choppy and gray or smooth as glass like the brow of a wife. I loved the taste of the water, and I was afraid of what it would be like to be closed up into a house without the slap of the wind and the cry of the gulls. I did not mean to fall asleep. I was sunning my silver stomach on a desolate rock in the shadows, basking in the heat reflected off the violet waves, breathing the kelp-spattered air. I'd only closed my eyes for a moment when he slipped up, silent as a spear fisherman, and sliced the skin on my back just as easily as tearing paper. an illustration of the skin bag here. Such a thing had never occurred. He stripped my skin from me, ripping and rending it, pulling my fingers out of my flippers, my feet out of my tail, my face from my muzzle. I cried out, but my sisters saw from afar only that someone was stealing my skin, and high time too. They did not see the knife. They did not hear my screams. They cheered from a distant outcropping of stone. When he was finished, he paddled easily to shore and began packing the skin into a fat leather satchel. I followed, swimming clumsily in the man's body I had never once lived in. When we clambered onto the sand, I lay gasping, air burning my unused lungs. "Where are we going?" I gulped. The man I came to know as Gassan stopped and turned to regard me. He is, as he often is, dressed in a woman's skin in those days. A crone with long tangled hair. "Whatever do you mean, young unfortunate?" the crone said. "You have my skin." "Ah, yes, that I do." "I'm yours, then. What house will you take me to? What fish and bread shall we eat? Who shall I love?" "I don't care what you eat or who you love, Seal. I only want the skin, and I only want the skin for selling. You are incidental, a pit in a peach." I rose shakily to feet I had never known. "But this is what I am. My skin is stolen. I must belong to someone." "You do not belong to me. I do not want you," the old woman who was Gassan snorted. "Then give me my skin back if you will not have me." "Not after I cut it with such difficulty from you. You have very stubborn bones." I was stricken. Gassan would not close me up in a house, or feed me or love me. Once I was out of my seal's body, I no longer feared those things. I needed them as violently as I once needed the sea. I became panicked. The slate sky turned frightening, the dark sea horrible. I did not know where to go. This body seemed afraid of everything. It was chilled easily and always hungry. I followed the crone because the crone had my skin. This is what a Selkie does. "Please," I would say, "love me or give me my skin. You are hurting me." "I do not want you," came the answer. "Please," I would say, "I can be useful. I can make stew and tea. You would like me if you tried me. Or give me back the skin. You are cutting me." "I do not like you, do not want you," the answer came. "Please," I would say, "I will wash house walls and mend fences. I can build cradles and beat the dust from rugs. Let me be a Selkie or give me back my skin. You are killing me." "I do not care," would come the answer. And so it went on, but I could not stop. I learned he was not a crone at all, and what house he had was on a far distant island where he would certainly not lead me. But I could not stop. The skin is knotted in my belly like a sailor's rope, and the harder Gassan pulls to escape me, the tighter the knot becomes, and the more desperately I chase him. My skin is gone, but I belong to no one. I am no seal and no man. The skin calls to me, but I cannot answer. "Please," I would say, "you are killing me." The tale of the satyr and the Selkie continued. "He only traded it to you to be rid of me. I've hounded him for 3 years, and he would not let me touch it, but he traded it to you for 2 pieces of bark. They may have cost you dear, but to him they mean nothing. They are pieces of skin, not a skin. He only wanted to show me how little my skin was worth. I'm so tired, Eshkol. Please." I grinned up at him through my curly hair. My voice was soft as pine needles underfoot. "I am very good at hiding things, Selkie. You could belong to me. I could close you up in a house, feed you sardines and black bread, and love you under towering trees. And you know, we satyrs have very well-deserved reputations. My father says I'm too young for a lover, but you are very handsome, and I'm not tired at all." I leaned out of the window very suddenly and kissed the Selkie boy right on his pale lips. I don't know why I did it, but the moonlight was so bright and he seemed suddenly ever so much more lovely than the skin. Our lips met over the windowsill, and his mouth was so cold, cold and salty and sweet as the sea. My lips warmed him as the sun warms a tide pool. Even through the kiss, I was smiling, and he put his silvery hands gently on my face, just the way a fawn does. I moved the skin behind my back. "Oh, Eshkol," he said, breathless and bashful, when we parted. "Perhaps I could rest here." Shroud stayed with me for 7 years and 7 days. My father was in a rage fit to crack oak boughs when he found us in the morning, a sea-eyed boy with arms wrapped around his daughter's downy neck. But it passed. Shroud was gentler and quieter than the low tide, and like the tide, no one could resist his slow presence. We could not kiss often enough. The water loves the green earth, and the green earth loves the water. So we were, twined up like vines on a riverbed, and he told me I tasted of red berries and sunlight on long grass, and I told him he tasted of clamshells and kelp and a wet wind. I taught him to plant grapevine, and he taught me to fish with my bare hands. I grew up. I grew less silly, though no less overeager and bright of heart, and in all my barters since, nothing I ever won was so precious to me as that grey and mottled skin. My only sadness in these gold-specked years was Grandfather Yu, who had not spoken to me since the day I took his bark, who would not speak to me even after it had long grown back. One evening, Shroud sat next to me in our own house and took my hand. "Eshkol, heart of my heart, give me back my skin." I laughed. We had played this game many times. "It is my skin, my love. I like it very much." "No," he said carefully and slowly. "I am not teasing. I am not playing. Give it back to me if you ever loved me." "Shroud, why? Have we not been happy? Do I not still taste of red berries and long grass?" "Warmer sunlight and sweeter berries than I ever thought possible. But I am a Selkie, and no amount of wishing will ever make me a satyr. This is what I am. Selkies stay until they leave. And the instinct for leaving is so powerful in us, far more powerful than the instinct for the sea. I understand that now. It is not the sea that calls us back. What calls is stronger and more inexorable than any current. I long for the sea, yes. My skin is always dry and always thirsty. And I miss the crash and swell of the black waves, but more, I long for the leaving. I am restless. I am ready. And the leaving whispers to me at night. It says that I will breathe easier when the air is full of fog and seagulls, that I will breathe easier when I am at the start of a story, rather than at the end. Tears trickled to my chin. No, I won't give it to you," I whispered. "Eshkol, I have not looked for my skin for 7 years. I have not rifled the thatch of the roof or pulled up the floorboards. I have not thought of it. I have not checked the hanging wash for a gray scrap. But the leaving will not let me be, and I must answer it. I don't want to." Shroud clenched his fist, and for the first time his pale face colored, red and pained. "I don't. I want to stay with you, and eat chestnuts and curl my fingers in your fur. But the seal is stronger than the man, and the leaving is stronger than the seal." He spread his hands helplessly. "This is what I am. If you don't want to, then don't. I'm a satyr, yet I am hopeless at playing the pipes. We are more than just our bodies." "It is no good, dearest of all bodies to me. If you do not give it to me, I will find it. And one day you will wake up and I will be gone. I've looked for it for 7 days and found nothing, but you are not so good at hiding that I will not find it one day or another. Please, you are hurting me." Slowly, I unbuttoned my vest and my belt. I reached into their folds. I drew out the gray skin, warm from lying next to my own. "I've always had it just here, seal boy. I wore your skin every day." Shroud reached across the table and took it from me. I only resisted a little. He touched it with wonder, as though it was woven light studded with stars. "I'm not tired anymore, Eshkol, he said, his voice hushed as river rushes. Oh, I said, sighing. Then I am happy for you, but I am as tired as an old aspen bent double. In the morning he was gone. I went walking in the dew and dim to see Grandfather Yew. I lay next to his roots and stroked them, chased off a few squirrels. I didn't cry. I couldn't bear the touch of water on my skin. I liked him, hummed the Yew, and I've thought about it some. It's all right about the bark. And we will continue tomorrow with the tale of St. Sigrid. Big feels. It is definitely a big feels story. A friend of mine here on the island has a house called Selkie's Rest. And there was even a line about Selkie's Rest in there, so it was prophetic from 20 years ago. Does anybody have any questions? Now comes the awkward times. Yeah, I mean, it's funny, because sometimes I try to think of, like, bits of trivia, but I feel like that story pretty much speaks for itself. It came out all of a piece. I think I wrote that in just an hour or two, really. Vaguely remember it in my house in Japan. The room that I wrote in Japan, it was up on the second floor of the house, and the elevated train tracks ran right by the window, so they would go by every half an hour or so. And I would be able to see in the night the lights and the train cars and the people's faces as they went by. Is anything from the myth the basis of the skin seller? I don't think so, except, basically, there's shapeshifters in every story, but I don't think that there's anything in particular that he came from. This book is pretty biological and gross. Like, in a lot of ways. There is just a lot of bodies and skins and guts and blood, and it's just like, it's very body horror in many ways, which I don't think anybody has ever really said that about the Orphan's Tales, but it strikes me reading it all over the last 35 days like this, like, it is gross. And the Skin Peddler's gross too, just all those skins and like literally just ripped off bodies. I think that you can see, like, my lifelong horror fandom in all of my books. Like, there's nothing I've written that doesn't have elements of horror in it. But even the Orphan's Tales, which I probably before now would have said there really isn't, it definitely has one foot in the horror graveyard. There must be blood. Bodies are gross. Life is gross. But there is a lot. But no, I don't think that the Skin Peddler comes from anything in specific. There are a few things that are just mine in this. I do enjoy that there's a mention of a Yale skin. I mean, Yale's a university, everybody knows that, but it is actually a medieval beastie too. Yeah. Just needed a plot device. He is pretty creepy. I don't remember if he comes back into it or not. I hope he does. That would have been a good one to bring back in. We'll see. I'll find out, I guess. I mean, this also is what happens when you just write a book without taking notes or anything. I have no idea what's going to happen. I vaguely remember things from the second book. There's mice involved at one point. But I only know there's mice involved because there's been so many. I've been given so many, like, little mice cupcakes and stuff because of it. It's very Siberian. So many Siberian tales have skin being torn off. The fairy tales are dark but stunning. Like yours. Thank you. Yeah, well, I mean, I love Slavic and Eastern tales. Though I don't think I knew quite as much about them as I know now when I was writing this. But yeah. What did I study at Edinburgh? I was a classics major. So it's ancient Greek and Latin. I specify that now, and like most people in my world now do know what classics is. But then people often thought I meant music, because it's just not a thing people study anymore. So I like, as soon as I say classics, I always end up clarifying ancient Greek and Latin, even if I have every reason to believe that people I'm talking to know what the classics are. No, I really enjoyed my time at Edinburgh. I took my degree exams in like the building with the grave diggers skeletons in it and everything, the old medical school. And it was a really special place and time in my life. And I enjoy the way classics are taught in the British system much more than the way they're taught in the American system. It's very, very linguistically focused in America, and not a whole lot on anything else. Whereas there's a lot more sort of freedom to discuss the text other than the grammar of it in the British system. Past your first 2 years, you're just sort of expected to have read it and come ready to discuss it. I always have to explain my Edinburgh degree, because it sounds so redundant: global and international sociology. Yeah, I can see how that that seems like a tautology. But yeah, I haven't been back in a long time. I guess I was back in 2014 for Worldcon, and then we went to Yorkshire to do research for a Glasstown game, and then we went up to Edinburgh and stayed with my friend Kate for a couple of days, and that was the last time that I was there. Don't have any idea when I'll be there again. I'm supposed to be in Poland right now. It is my European travels went into thin air this year. And I'm supposed to be, I was supposed to be in Texas at the end of the month. That's not happening either. I imagine nothing is happening this year. I haven't heard about the one convention in October, but I would be shocked if it's not canceled too. So it's the year of staying in, I guess. Yeah, just 365 Saturday nights in. Yikes. Well, I'll do my outro stuff while you guys are thinking of other questions, if indeed you are thinking of other questions. Yes, we saw Scaramouche Jones, Heath, which was a great show. Can I read Russian? No, I cannot. Can I read the letters? Yes, I took about a year of Russian lessons. Can I still say some rudimentary things in Russian? Yes. When I was there last year, it's amazing how fast it came back to me. When I was on the plane, I was like, wow, I remember nothing. And I paid for lessons from a lady on the island, like, for ages. And I was sure I would remember nothing, but as soon as I was there, it all started to come back to me, and I understood more and more. I can still sing a couple of good songs. But no, I cannot anymore read Russian. Yeah. So, again, for legal reasons, this is not an audiobook of The Orphan's Tales. This is a play. You can say it fast like the end of a commercial. You can follow me on Twitter at Kat Valenti. You can catch up in the archive at Kat Valenti Live on YouTube. You can subscribe to my Patreon at Kat Valenti, which is full of exciting new rewards and good content this month. You can leave a tip in the tip jar at my Instagram profile here on this site, as well as on YouTube and my website, which is catherinevalenti.com. You don't have to, but this is quite a lot of work to put these together. I'm putting on makeup every night of quarantine for you guys. I'm out of foundation. Like, that's how much I've been dolling myself up. It is still sweatpants, below the camera, but chin up. It's pro makeup material. And times are thin around here, so it would be deeply appreciated if you wanted to toss a coin in the witch's hat. And I will thank you by name on the next stream if anyone does. And I think, and SJTucker.com, you can find music based on this book, including Seafaring and Seder, which is an amazing song based on this story, one of my favorites of hers, and I will play it at the intro of the next stream. And you can get these books at your local independent bookseller's website at the moment. Please do support them as much as you can. If you would like to support my local bookseller, it's printbookstore.com in Portland, Maine. transformation and serenity very rich in my tales. Thank you. I try to have a little agency for everybody. And I did enjoy writing my boy Selkie. As much as I enjoy flipping boy stories to girl stories, flipping girl stories to boy stories is often more interesting because it's been done so much less. We have, over the last many decades, gotten very good at recasting traditionally male stories with female protagonists, but like girl toys and girl interests, people always seem to feel much more dicey about putting boys in girl situations. So I do like my Selkie boy. Yeah. Last chance for questions while I sip my wine here. And then I'll sign off if nobody has any. Slurp. Okay, well, I'll see you guys tomorrow night at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, same fairy tale time, same fairy tale channel. Thank you so much for tuning in and spending these evenings with me. So many evenings, and more yet to come. We're definitely going to get to the end of this book and probably start the next one. I hope we don't get to the end of the next one. That would be a little much. But they're already starting to talk about opening things up, which seems like a great move when my state, at least, just had their highest per day cases ever. So definitely time to open up. But I will keep doing these until all the lockdown orders are over. So we may. Who knows? We're all in this as long as we're in this. So hang in there. I love you guys. And I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.